What is going on today, guys? AU here, and today we're going to be going over some transactions I've already made in the UGL. If you missed all the UGL videos, there's a playlist up on the channel. We've got our first week of battles down. We also did a full stream of doing a breakdown of all the teams. You can see the team I have or had in my last video on the screen, and let's just say my first week didn't go too great. My draft overall didn't go too great. I was never a fan of what I ended up with in the draft. A lot of the things that I wanted just ended up getting sniped left and right. I think I had like 7 out of 11 Pokemon sniped at one point. So we were struggling to come together with what we wanted what we wanted on this draft. And I managed to come up with this at the end. I had to do some grace period transactions and stuff, and this is what I managed to come up with. Still, after the grace period wasn't what I wanted. If you know me, I'm not a super hyper offense kind of dude, and that's kind of what this team is. If I want defensive Pokemon, Vaporeon, Girder, and Togekiss are the ones forced into those roles, and it just was not working out. I was not having a great time team building with it, and my week 1 match did not go fantastically. Probably was winnable. The matchup was kind of bad though. But hyper offense just isn't me, and I've known it's not me for a while now. So I needed to make some changes to kind of get a team that I wanted to play with, because if I were to play with this team all season, I just wouldn't like it. So this is the team that we started out with. And before I go to the other team, I do want to say that if you are new here, subscribe, because if this is something you're interested in, definitely stick around, subscribe, and click the bell, and you'll see when the videos go up. Basically what I'm doing on my channel right now is I'm focusing on UGL, which is an in-game draft league, and a Soul Link with Polo. So there's not going to be much other content going up, because I just kind of want to focus on quality over quantity. But yeah, so UGL and the Soul Link are going to be the two kind of main things that are going to be on the channel right now. And then after things kind of slow down and we get back into a regular schedule, then more things will go up. I'm supposed to be moving stuff tomorrow into a new apartment, and once we get into that new apartment, hopefully there'll be a place there that I can kind of record when I want to. We should be good to go in about a week's time or so for more videos to go up on the channel again. But like I said, this is the team I started out with. You can see it's not horrible. We had Togekiss, Scizor, and Flygon as our Fairy Steel Dragon Core. That Fairy Steel Dragon Core is actually really great. I love that Fairy Steel Dragon Core. The only problem was I wanted to take Mandibuzz in tier 2, and Mandibuzz got sniped. So then I was forced to take another dark type somewhere. So I was like, okay, I'll grab Incineroar. Incineroar was sniped right before in the same round, like right before I grabbed it. So then I took Obstagoon, and I was like, okay, Obstagoon's not horrible. I can take Sylveon. At the time I actually had Urshifu Water, but I was like, I can take Sylveon. And then towards the end of the draft, my lower tiers just were not adding up to what I needed. So I changed Urshifu Rapid Strike to Togekiss, changed Sylveon, or traded Sylveon to Polo for his Vaporeon. And then we ended up grabbing Salazzle as a ground and poison and fire type, Serena as a rapid spinner. Jolteon is one that I actually wanted to use. It was one thing that didn't get sniped from me. Kadabra, I don't care about Kadabra. Girder, we picked up Girder because at the time I didn't have a lot of bulk on my team, and I was like, I want to have a switch into something, so I picked up Girder. Girder's not great. Girder's actually very good, just not on this team, I don't think. Which I was having a lot of trouble with in the last battle. And then we had Frostlass, another Pokemon I didn't really care about. So overall on my team, I liked Togekiss, Scizor, Flygon, Vaporeon, Girder, and Jolteon. That was really about it. And that's like half the draft. So half the draft I didn't really want / didn't really like in the spots they were in. So me, KJ, Tago, Polo, I think Shaded was in that call. Primal might have also been in that call, but I know KJ, Tago, and Polo were kind of the 3 main people that I showed this to whenever I was thinking about it. And Shaded had to have been in the call because he made some drops that is the reason that I was able to make these trades. And you can see my team here now. We picked up Urshifu Rapid again. The reason I dropped it the first time is because I didn't have the team to support it. And with Pokemon that have been dropped in transactions over the past week or so, I felt like I was able to get a team that I could get rid of Togekiss, replace it with Pelipper, shaded drop Pelipper, so I could replace Togekiss with Pelipper, and pick up Urshifu Rapid again. The interesting thing about this team you'll see is it's not actually a rain team. It just has Pokemon on there that benefit from the rain. So I don't necessarily have to have rain every single week. This team's going to do really well outside of rain, and Pelipper is going to make it even stronger inside of rain. The only thing that really gets hurt by the rain is going to be probably Salazzle. Everything else benefits from the rain. Flygon maybe, because Scalds are neutral to Flygon, but everything else benefits from the rain. Scizor gets half damage from fire type attacks. Urshifu gets powered up in the rain. Rotom gets half damage from fire type attacks. Pelipper gets 100% accurate Hurricanes, Bronzong fire type attacks, Jolteon, Thunder, and Weather Ball. So Jolteon actually now has a way on my team to hit the ground types that want to switch into it, because it lost Hidden Power, it lost Signal Beam, it lost a lot of the coverage that it got. So now on my team, if it's inside the rain, a ground type can't really switch in safely against it if I have Weather Ball, because that Weather Ball will turn into a water type attack. So that's something. Aromatisse doesn't really care either way about the rain. Piloswine, fire type attacks. Froslass, fire type attacks. So what you'll see with my team is there's a lot of fire weaknesses, but 2 of them get Thick Fat and Heat Proof. So technically they're not really weaknesses. Even outside of rain, they're not really weaknesses if I do decide to run Heat Proof Bronzong. If I'm not running Heat Proof Bronzong, then it is a weakness outside of rain and not a weakness inside the rain. Thick Fat Piloswine is always not a fire type weakness. So when I was drafting this, or when I was looking over the things I could do, I saw Aromatisse was still open in tier 4, and in tier 4 it's actually a pretty big value pick. It does basically the same thing that Florges, Sylveon, who else? Clefable. Like, it does the same thing those things do, except it doesn't have pivoting. So it's kind of like, my best way to put it is it's a budget Florges, because Florges doesn't have pivoting. Its ability is kind of bad. Its abilities are kind of bad. It gets Healer and Aromavel, I think it is. So it can't be like Taunted, Infatuated, or whatever the Aromavel one is. But overall, I think Aromatisse as a Wish Passer is going to do pretty good for this team. I still think Wish Passing on this team is going to be good, because we have Bronzong, Piloswine, Scizor is going to be pretty bulky. Urshifu is actually a pretty bulky mon when you look at its stats. Defensive Rotom, defensive Pelipper, like all these Pokemon can be pretty bulky. Even Flygon can come in and take a Wish. So I think Wish Passing on this team is actually going to be pretty beneficial. Another thing is we dropped Serena for Rotom. So we have 2 electric types, but these 2 electric types actually don't share any weaknesses, because Rotom gets Levitate and Jolteon is only weak to ground. So Rotom can come in on ground moves as long as they're not Mold Breaker and or in Gravity or anything. Like, as long as it's not Mold Breaker or Gravity or Smackdown or whatever, Rotom can come in on those ground type moves. And then Rotom is weak to Fire, Ice, neutral to Flying, which is kind of okay, but we have a ton of flying resistances. Well, not a ton, but we have a good bit. We have Piloswine, Froslass, Jolteon, Bronzong. So a good way to deal with, a good bit of ways to deal with the flying types on other people's drafts. Rotom is also weak to, I think that's it, Fire, Ice, neutral to Flying. Yep, that's it. And then we've got Pelipper. Like I said, Pelipper was just, it's a defogger, which was kind of good. It's a pivoter. We have U-turn, Volt Switch, U-turn, Volt Switch. That's it. So we've got a good bit of pivoting on the team. And let's see what I was saying. Pelipper, a defogger, also a good specs user. Same with Rotom, good specs user. Rotom can also be bulky, supportive with Will-O-Wisp, whatever. Pelipper can be bulky with like Defog, U-turn, Scald, and Whirlwind or Hurricane or whatever you want to put on there. Pelipper, again, a great specs user. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I replaced Togekiss with Pelipper, and then picked up Aromatisse and replaced Kadabra, because like I said, I was never probably going to bring Kadabra to a game. I don't know, I just didn't, like, I know it's a super good special attacker, it's just not my playstyle. So having Aromatisse in that tier 4 and being able to drop Togekiss for Pelipper, and I dropped Vaporeon too, and then I was able to pick up Urshifu Rapid, because inside Rain, Liquidation is going to do an insane amount of damage to almost whatever comes in. Even resisted hits, Urshifu Rapid Strike hits like a truck. I was talking to KJ earlier, or like a couple days ago, and I was like, it's kind of bad because he has Urshifu Single Strike and he gets Darkest Lariat, which ignores stat boosts on the opponent, which is a lot more broken than liquidation or waterfall. On Urshifu, we get liquidation and waterfall. Waterfall can flinch. Liquidation is just a pretty strong physical water type move. And like I said, inside the rain, you're not going to have a switch in a liquidation. You get close combat, you get drain punch, you get U-turn for pivoting. You also get a good bit of utility moves. I don't know if I'll ever end up using the utility moves that it gets. It gets fake out if you ever need some kind of priority or something on it. But overall, it's a pretty good mon. Actually, it's a really good mon. It's almost like the perfect all-around physical attacker, I would say. We did ban Surging Strike, so I can't use Surging Strikes on it, which is kind of bad. But like I said, inside the rain, that liquidation is going to be doing a ton of damage. And with U-turn, it comes in, pressure something, and comes out exactly what I want in Pokemon. The same reason I like Scizor, same reason I like Flygon, and even Jolteon. But it also wrecks Wish Passers. So like Umbreon, Sylveon, Clefable, whatever that wants to be in on it can't actually Wish Protect over and over and over because of Unseen Fist, so that's kind of good. Scizor only got better on this team because of the rain. Now my opponents are actually going to have a really hard time trying to figure out how they're going to hit Scizor. And if they can't hit Scizor, great. Then it kind of just comes in, sets up a Swords Dance, and then clicks Bullet Punch over and over and over. Or if it's banded, it just comes in and clicks Bullet Punch over and over and over. So not being able to hit Scizor super well at in late game is going to be huge. I think Scizor is probably going to shine a lot more on the team than it would have on the last team, which is what I want because I really wanted to use Scizor. And we ended up dropping, who was our Steel type in the last draft? Oh, Scizor. So we have double Steel types, that's right. We have double Steel types of Bronzong. Bronzong gives us another rocker, and if you see on my last draft, I don't have a rocker. Which is kind of bad for me. So on this draft, I have Bronzong and Piloswine. So we've got Bronzong as a rocker. It doesn't get rapid spin, but it can set Trick Room. It can set screens, Iron Defense Body Press for things like sand teams or anything their team is pretty physical. But yeah, Bronzong added a defensive wall that I needed. Rotom can be defensive or especially defensive. Aromatisse, defensive or especially defensive. And so I've got a couple Pokemon on my team now that can kind of switch into things, and even Bronzong, it's base 116 in both defense and special defense. So I've got a lot of ways to deal with other Pokemon as far as switch-ins and defensive walls for other people's team. And then you'll notice Girder is also gone. I have double Ice types. Didn't really want to end up with double Ice types, but I was thinking I actually ran out of all my transactions. We used 5 transactions, and I used 1 on Togekiss, 1 on Vaporeon, 1 on Obstagoon, 1 on Serena, and 1 on Kadabra. So at the end, I was actually left with Girder over Piloswine, but somebody else was making changes to their team, and they wanted Girder for Piloswine. And I was like, yes, because now I have a Pokemon that can switch into things that Urshifu can't take. So Bronzong can switch into the Fairy and Psychic type moves. Piloswine can switch into the flying type moves, because you don't really want Bronzong switching in every single time on Urshifu's counters, because once they get that rhythm, they'll start doing things to hit Bronzong. They'll start throwing out dark type attacks or whatever. So having Piloswine to take those hits also is very good, because if you think about it, Girder can't switch into anything that wants to hit Urshifu. Piloswine also switches into electric type attacks on Urshifu. And I think it's neutral to the grass type attacks on Urshifu, which Rotom is a switch in there. But Girder can't switch into flying type moves, can't switch into fairy type moves, can't switch into psychic type moves. It can switch into electric and grass, but it doesn't resist either one of them. Whereas Piloswine's immune to electric, and then you have things like Rotom and Bronzong that resist grass. So overall, we're covering our bases on Urshifu switch-ins. Like switch-ins we need for Urshifu, switch-ins we need for Scizor, switch-ins we need for like Pelipper or Flygon, because even Flygon you want to hit it with a Dragon type move or Ice type move. Piloswine switches in there, Bronzong switches in there. So we're covering our offensive Pokemon very well with defensive Pokemon now, and we do have Frostlass, but I think now Frostlass is a more likely bring for me because it's in the rain, and I think Frostlass in the rain again is going to be something that you're going to have to know how to hit. You can't really, like, you can hit it with a fire move, it's still pretty frail, but at least it's not going to get O-code most of the time from a fire move at that point. So Frostlass might actually be something that I bring to some games, and it's like I've always said, if you bring your tier 4s to 2 games, your tier 4s have done exactly what they needed to do. So yeah, I'm excited about this draft overall. We did kind of hurt Salazzle, but a lot of the time Salazzle's running Toxic Protect, whatever. So, and like I said, this team works without Rain. So if I need to use Salazzle, I don't have to bring Pelipper, and everything else still works fine. It's just the Rain helps everything in such a tremendous way that, like, it's kind of scary if you don't prep for it with Rain. So like I said, overall I like this a lot more. Hopefully you guys like this draft a lot more. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting draft to play with, which is kind of what I was going for. It's like I was telling KJ and Tago, I'm kind of trying to not be so conventional in the drafting, because unconventional can work, and my last draft was very conventional HO, and it just wasn't me. So now I'm going very unconventional, bulky offense basically. I guess you could kind of call this bulky offense. Like Urshifu is not so bulky, Scizor is bulky. Actually, Urshifu is pretty bulky. Like, it's got more bulk defensively than Scizor does. So Urshifu could even be bulky. Rotom's bulky. Pelipper's kind of bulky. Bronzong, Piloswine. Like, we've got the bulky offense that we need and that I like on my teams. So I think now we can kind of start going on a run. We started out 0-1 at -3, not the best, but we can start going on a run and taking down these next 2 teams. Next week we are playing a Zeraora team, so that's going to be pretty interesting in the fact that I just drafted my Rain, quote-unquote Rain team. So that'll be pretty interesting. But I think overall we're going to do pretty well with this team. We're definitely going to come out with a winning record, hopefully make playoffs. It's top 6, so it'll be interesting. But that's where I'm gonna leave you. Kind of rambled on for a little bit, but if you did like what you saw, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you.